As was mentioned by all of us in one way or another, this has been the greatest migration in human history around the world, as well as in this hemisphere. And when I got elected, the first major piece of legislation I introduced was to reform the immigration process, to make it more orderly, to make sure people have access under the law. And so what we found out, and not just in my visit to El Paso, but before that, we found out is that our Republican friends and a few Democrats are very critical of what's going on the border, but yet refused to even look at the detailed document I submitted for the Congress to consider to reform the process completely. And so, number one, right now, a majority of our migrants are coming from 4 countries: Venezuela, Cuba, Haiti, and Nicaragua. And we're expanding the very successful parole program we had with regard to Venezuela to Cuba and to Nicaragua and to Haiti to provide safe and orderly and humane processing for people fleeing those countries to come to the United States and claiming seeking asylum. And this is going to reduce the number of people illegally trying to cross the border. Venezuelans were trying to enter the country that has dropped off dramatically because we've allowed them to go directly to whatever country, the first country they go to, directly contact the United States, make sure that they make their application, showing that they do a background check, they in fact have access to a sponsor, and that they've been examined. And that way they're able to come through ports of entry. And it's dropped off, I'm going to make sure I get the numbers right, dramatically from 1,100 persons trying to enter per day to 250 a day. I've asked and I want to thank the President of Mexico for agreeing to take up to 3,000 people back that don't meet this criteria. Because look, right now, the cartels make a lot of money, which they use for drug trafficking as well. People have to make it through jungles and a long journey to the border, and many are victimized, not only in terms of what they have to pay, but victimized physically in other ways. And so we're trying to make it easier for people to get here, opening up the capacity to get here, but not have them go through that god-awful process. We're going to continue our efforts to address the root causes of migration to help people stay in their home countries. I've asked the Congress for $4 billion to provide for that. We've also had our Vice President provide for private donations of over $3 billion to make sure that people, look, all of you know, all of us in the United States are immigrants. Mine go all the way back to the Irish famine, but the point is all of us have been immigrants. And one of the things that comes across fairly clearly is it's not like people sit in their home, city, county, town, and say, I got a great idea. Let's sell everything we have. Give it to a coyote, go through some jungles and a long path up to the United States, smuggle us across the border, drop us in the desert, and won't that be fun in a country we don't even speak the language? We can do more than merely just make legal immigration more streamlined, but we can also do it by preventing people from wanting to have to leave in the first place, by helping their communities, in fact, better their circumstances. And so I hope, and by the way, my proposals are supported by the Chamber of Commerce, by the American Labor Movement, which is an unusual coalition, and a whole range of people. The point here is that my Republican friends in Congress should join us in the solutions. And the one last point I'll make, and I'm sorry to go on so long, but we spend a lot of time talking about it, is we have to increase the technological capabilities of the border, both to intercept illegal drugs and other contraband, as well as people being smuggled across the border. We have now the ability to use, and some of you have seen them, I know you have, I'm sure, these trucks that ride alongside of a tractor trailer. It's like a giant x-ray machine, and it can determine what's inside that tractor trailer, and thousands cross the border every day in legal commerce. And so we're allowed to determine whether or not there are fentanyls in there, drugs in there, people being smuggled across the border. We're going to provide significantly more of those vehicles for the people to be able to determine at the border what is coming across legally and illegally. A lot more to say, but I probably already said too much.